It's an official intro, so here we go. Hi, Niko. We were laughing about eligibility and Manchester City and a bunch of things in FIFA waiting 15 months before they yelled at people before you came in this morning.
Oh, interesting. Well, you're going to laugh at me too because I just realized I left my coffee downstairs and we're already live, but it's okay. That is not what matters. What matters is that I am up. That was cup number 2 of the day, so we'll be all right. We'll hold on for at least 30 minutes to get that cup, but, we got a lot to talk about. I said, hey, you know what? Let me prepare. Let me get ready. And the sacrifice was my cup of coffee that's now downstairs.
Oh, man. So fine. Since you have sacrificed, I will yield the floor to Jarrett for Jarrett's first question of the segment. So go for it, Jarrett. What's on your mind?
All right, Niko. So now that we've hit the international window, I guess we'll keep this more centric with your world. When you were able to jump in, we want to really focus on what you got going out there. First half of the season's in the books. What's the general consensus with Seattle?
It's not good enough. And those are not my words. They're also Brian's. I asked them yesterday that exact same question. Not yesterday, I'm sorry, Tuesday. I asked them that, just kind of looking at where you're at, where your team's at. You look at the table, the schedule ahead, tournaments that you're going to be in. And he just said those exact words. It's just not good enough. This is a team that has been plagued by injuries, and it's still not an excuse. It's a circumstance. I understand that. There were, in my opinion, wrong decisions made in the offseason. Not enough was done for a team that needed some more weapons, some more options up top. I love the fact that Seattle has a sustainable way of in a pipeline to bring up young players, and I praise them for that. And I love a lot of the players that are in this roster, but there are times where having some experience and some different options just are needed. There are times where if you are up 1-0 against RSL and you don't have a player that can hold the ball, get a foul, take the ball to the corner and try to freeze the game, and game management continues to escape you, and problems that seem systematic don't change. I think it does go back to a little bit of a leadership. It goes back a little bit to the tactics. It goes back to some of the decisions. So the reality of this team is that, unfortunately, it has now learned from their mistakes throughout the season. And my focus this Tuesday was to ask Brian, how do you change that? How do you change what's not working when you're this far into the season and those things continue to happen? And he just said that there's no reason to change the system. There's no reason to change the style of play. He just wants to continue working on it with drills. He kind of walked me through what he's doing to make sure that those things change. And I just got to hope that that's the case. I've said it once, twice, 3 times in this show. I really do believe that the ceiling of this team is just making it to the playoffs and maybe getting one game in the playoffs, getting past the first round. And then that's what you get. Maybe another way to save the season, to your question, could be putting all your eggs in the U.S. Open Cup basket and maybe trying to get a title there, right? I mean, you're far enough in the tournament. You got some MLS teams that are going to be eliminating each other, and maybe you played a really good couple of games and you have a title. So I do think that the potential is limited for this team, and they just have to figure out where to put all their investment, all their effort, all their resources to try to pull something that's going to be something to put your hat on for this Sounders team at the end of 2024.
But you got to go through Sacramento in that first step, though. When it
you
comes,
do got to go to Sacramento, and I expect pretty heavy lineup, pretty close to a first team lineup in that one. I don't think that Brian can go down there and have a rotated squad. He might have to sacrifice some MLS play, but I do think that the smartest thing to do, the smartest way to uh, get a title, the most probable way to get a title, to have something to put your name on, would be just to go all out in that U.S. Open Cup. I'm not worried about Leagues Cup. MLS is going to be what it is. You'll figure it out. You're still kind of in contingency to get into the playoffs, and once you're in the playoffs, it's MLS. Anything can happen. So for right now, main focus, main objective should be U.S. Open Cup.
Jarrett, go for it. As he's thinking.
Hey, sorry, my connection dropped a bit. Sorry, it dropped out a bit. But I guess so. Let's ask about the elephant in the room for us that kind of relates to your past. Gonzalo Pineda, the long-term manager of Atlanta United. What are the odds he's back in Seattle working with Brian, back in that familiar environment?
I mean, we asked Brian about that too, and he said, I have a really talented staff. There's no room for him here. He did say he was disappointed on, obviously, Gonzalo being fired, and he has more than confidence in Gonzalo as a coach and strategist to just bounce from this. I also personally talked to Gonzalo, and he seems to understand that this is a learning experience. And that's what I've been saying all along since I heard the news, since I was able to get on Soccer Bar and other shows. It's a learning experience for Gonzalo. He gains out of this, right? He will figure out what went wrong, what went right. We all know that being a coach, it's more than just understanding the game, more than knowing the X's and O's, if you will, attacking movements, ability to change concepts, all of that. There's other things to it. And I think he'll be a better coach after this one. Unfortunately for Atlanta, it didn't work out. I was sure that he was going to be able to at least be better than Frank de Boer and Heinze, and maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. The reality is that he did shoot below my expectation, below his own expectation, I'm sure. But one thing that you can't fault him, though, is the commitment, the passion, the effort, the willingness to fall on the sword for his players. So I praise him. I applaud him. I think that he did what he could with the cards that he was dealt. Atlanta, for your first job, it's a lot of pressure. I do believe that Atlanta has been in constant adaptation, in constant evolution and changes, whether it's through the managerial or front office or players. I mean, there's just been a lot of changes throughout the time, and even throughout Pineda's time. Not that that's an excuse at all, but I do feel like, in general, Atlanta is still not working at their full potential, regardless of the blank checks and the resources, the wallet power, the fantastic fan base, the beautiful facilities. I still think that they're not quite there yet, but I am more than confident that they will, and that Garth Lagerwey and Bocanegra will figure it out. I still don't know about the Bocanegra thing. I mean, it's pretty funny that we continue to focus on the coaching, right? And you continue to change coaches. Nothing seems to work. And if you find a common denominator, it might be Bocanegra. And, you know, where is his part of it, right? I mean, you know, how much are we judging Carlos Bocanegra? But at the end of the day, I feel like Gonzalo will figure it out. There's a lot of options for Atlanta. I do expect him to go out there and swing for the fences. I would go for Marcelo Gallardo personally. He would be as close as you can get to a Tata type of coach because of the relevance, because of his style of play, because of what he did with River Plate. But we'll see. I'm not going to tell you that they're going to go out here and try to find Pochettino or Klopp or all these guys that maybe people wish that they could get. but I think that there will be an extensive interview process, and hopefully Atlanta can figure it out.
How did Gonzo sound when you talked to him?
Optimistic, as he always does. He's someone that's strong-willed. He does not lack confidence. Obviously, I'm not going to talk about the particulars that we kind of got into, but all in all, it was just mainly he understood that this is the nature of the sport, and that this is just a learning chapter in his career. And I really do think that that's the case, and he's going to be a coach that will not lack offers, and that's in MLS, abroad. I think that he'll have plenty of options. If I'm a coach not doing my job, I'd be a little worried with a guy like Gonzalo out there prowling the hallways. I know that Gio's out there and there's other coaches, but Gonzalo has some quality of his own, some desire of his own.
Jarrett, what else is on your mind?
Yeah, I guess looking out at the rest of the West as well, who's been, as we reach this halfway point, I know we've talked about this before, I think, who's been your biggest surprise, either good or bad, out West that people may not, they need to pay better attention to?
Not to talk about the same teams like LA Galaxy, I'll go with Minnesota, man. They've really done it oddly, and I'm still not a believer. I'm still not buying that stock, baby. I'm still selling. But the fact that a coach can come in, change the soccer module, really put a sense of competition to the point that the best players are going to play. Doesn't matter if you're a DP, if you're not, if you just came in, if you're putting in the effort like Tanny is, and you got to sit a guy like Pookie, then so be it. If you got to get rid of Reynoso because he was a cancer in your organization, then so be it. And for you to be able to get so many results, they're a surprise. They surprised me against Atlanta. I mean, they're the ones that put the nail in the coffin of Gonzalo in a game that I thought Atlanta was dominating, but they were able to make some adjustments. They started pressing a lot higher. The effort was there consistently, and they turned that game around with a lot of will, a lot of power, and a lot of efficiency. So I think Minnesota, without a doubt, when I look at that standings, if you would have told me at the beginning of the year that no Reynoso, Pookie on the bench, and players not really working to the DP level, that Minnesota was going to be a top 3 team in the West, I tell you, you're crazy. So I do believe that whatever they're doing down there, it's working.
Who is your midseason MVP?
Chicho Arango. I know that everybody wants to say Messi.
Yes.
And
yes.
I know that's the number one go, and he's poster child, and he's been unbelievable, unreal. I'm not taking anything away from Messi. Let me make that very clear. I do not want people at my DMs. You know what? Come to my DMs. I don't. Hit me up on Twitter. It's great. But at the end of the day, yes, Messi's been fantastic. He's been fabulous, and he has all the quality in the world. But Chicho Arango, to do what he's been doing with his RSL team from a leadership standpoint, from a polyfunctional, versatile way, whether it's at the 9, whether it's at the 10, the effort, the ability to handle pressure, because once you start doing as good as you do, and you become everybody's main target, right? What are we going to do in RSL? When we play RSL, let's just minimize Chicho Arango's ability to make a difference, and you're still able to do it consistently, and you do it from set pieces, and you do it from headers, and you do it in all kinds of ways. I just think it's unbelievable. John Rojas from Soccer Bar was telling us that there's a different relationship with players, that there was like some sort of wage that him and an understanding between Carlos Gomez and himself, where if Carlos Gomez would assist him on a play, Chicho would give him $80, and if he went vice versa, then he'd give him $100. And then once Pablo Mastroeni found out about it, he's like, "Hey, man, The whole team might not see it the same way. I mean, it's cute. I like it. It's awesome, but maybe everybody needs to be involved. And he's like, cool, man. It's open for everybody. So just little things about what Chicho Arango has done on and off the field, making my MVP. The goal contributions are there. He's the golden boot for right now. Do I think he's going to get it over Messi? Probably not, just because it's Messi's MLS. But do I think he deserves it? Absolutely. He's my halfway point MVP. And I don't see him slowing down. I see him getting this team very far. So he'd probably be my vote for MVP at the end of the season.
Jarrett, what do you think?
No, I'm very much in this camp, and it's not a slander on Messi. You can come into my DMs. I really don't care at this point. At this point, I'm on war. I'm in war mode anyway. Yeah, no, Arango's been that guy for me. Pablo Mascherini's been that guy. And speaking of which, as we continue superlatives, who's been your manager of the year so far?
Ooh, that's a tougher one because I do like to give coaches that maybe are working with less.
Is it your boy Ramsey? Is it your boy Ramsey?
No, I'm not there yet. Yeah, I mean, he came in a little late for that. You know what I mean? It's fine. I could see that. Sure, I could see that. Pablo would be my pick. I mean, quite honestly, I'm over here trying to make things not a cliche, but he'd probably be my go-to guy because of the adaptation, the difference, the involvement as a coach that he's had this season. Yeah. How it's not just about, and we just talked about this, not just about being a strategist and a guy that's preparing the teams, but a guy that can get guys bought in because you are an influencer in their ability to be better week to week. When you're a motivator, I think that talks miles. The way he has his players' backs, whether it's good results, bad results, in post games and pre-game conferences. I mean, he just says all the right things. But all in all, with this team, it may be surprising a lot of people that didn't see it coming. I think Pablo is that guy. I understand that Tata will probably get a lot of votes as well on that camp. But yeah, I think Pablo would probably be my pick at manager of the year so far.
All right. So then who's been overrated this season? Who's overrated at the halfway point?
Ooh, overrated.
Overrated, because we're talking underrated. So who's been overrated at this point of the year? Cherundolo, LAFC?
Maybe Cherundolo, but he has been doing some quality things on some of the adjustments he's made on his style of play, some decisions to sometimes play with everything you got in U.S. Open Cup and MLS and just going for it all. I think that's really good. I don't want to say Greg Vanny either because I feel like he has a lot of involvement in the positive aspect of that team. Man, that's a tough one. Yeah, you might got me with that one because I mean, overrated would mean that the team's doing well, right? Because I mean, overrated in terms of name, I would like to say I got like Caleb Porter that has a huge ego, but he wouldn't come to the point. So yeah, I mean, maybe Cherundolo, maybe just because of what he has behind him. But it's tough, man. I really don't think I have one, man. I don't think I have one. Can you guys help me out with this one? Do you guys have any ideas?
I mean,
hey, shout out to Caleb Porter. New England is speed running the Caleb Porter experience. They skipped right over the winning a title part and went right to the disaster piece.
Oh man, maybe Jim Curtin. Maybe he's a guy that maybe is a little overrated for the results that he's getting with the team that he's gotten, with the process that he's. I mean, you've been there way too long to be where you're at right now. I'll go with Jim. Just make that my vote.
Yeah, it's actually, it's funny you say that. We talked about them early in the season. We have a friend of ours who's a Philly guy, and the consensus kind of was They ran it back for one more season, and it's one season too long to try and run it back for, and we're seeing the results of that.
Yeah, he got an extension, didn't he, as well?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so I think maybe Curtin would be that guy. That you guys really got my mental fluids going there, just making me sweat. I like it. I like it.
So let me ask you this one then. Let's keep it going. This I'm going to get outside of MLS because after last night, what is Mexico as a national team right now?
Wow.
Bielsa dropped a nuke on them last night.
Yeah, Lozano's under fire by everybody because of the decision to rotate as heavily as he did against Uruguay. I don't hate it. I just think that the issues are, again, it's so easy to just blame everything on the coach, but it's beyond him. And when you look at the players that he had yesterday, I mean, that's kind of what you got working with. It's interesting that we ask a coach, why does he keep calling Memo Ochoa? Why does he keep calling all these older players? He rotates, makes some changes, brings El Chino, El Toro, makes a change at goalkeeping, and then all of a sudden, how could he go with the lineup like that? It's terrible for our appearance. Look, man, you're playing against Uruguay. You were going to lose no matter what, especially this new version of Mexico. Honestly, there isn't, even in the A team, if you will, for the Mexican national team, there isn't that guy that's just incredible, that's going to take over the team. So I understand why Lozano is going to be looking for some other pieces to shine and try to figure it out. Everybody wants to talk about Santi Jimenez. He's got to be playing. He's got to be playing. He will play. The coach already knows what he can provide. Let's give other guys an opportunity, especially when there's very little to pick from. And again, that's the biggest problem for Mexico is the lack of talent, the lack of players out broad, shining. Not that that's the only way a national team can function, but that's something that does help you. When players are abroad, it means that they're quality. It means that they've, kind of upped their value, and it helps you. Mexico just doesn't have that right now. So when you're going against Nunes and Betancourt, I mean, man, you're ass out of luck. I mean, it's quite and simple. And that game was atrocious. I mean, plain and simple, man. It was just, you were overpowered, overwhelmed. I love that Bielsa kind of gave Jimmy a hand. It was like, oh, well, it's okay to just have bad results early, in friendlies like this, and they're a hard team to play. No, they were not hard to play. They got run out of that park, and it wasn't even close, man.
I mean, it was Rangel, Orozco, Guzman, Arteaga, Garcia, Orbelin Pineda, Beltran, Edson Alvarez, Guillermo Martinez, Huerta, and Alvarado were your starters. He comes in with subs: Romo, Jimenez, Rodriguez, Quinones, Uriel Antuna, and Alexis Vega, and he still had 9 other dudes that he could have pulled from, and nothing worked.
Nothing worked, man. But and again, I mean, people wanted to see Chino Huerta out there. He did okay. People wanted to see Garcia out there. He got burned a couple of times. Arteaga, that was the weakest side for Mexico. I mean, everything that went well for Uruguay went out the right side. But sometimes you got to see players. Orbelin Pineda is a guy that's been in the stratosphere. Edgar Alvarez was supposed to be one of your main guys and one of your starters. He had a bad game. He had a terrible game. He was the cause of, I think, the second goal on a quick counter. Mexico had their chances. They put a ball in the post. They had a couple of breakthroughs. They just didn't have the quality in this one. But again, this is not surprising to me. And again, even if they had their A team, maybe a 3-0. I mean, they just have not been the Mexico of old. I've been saying this for 2 years. They've been on a huge decline that is getting ready to hit rock bottom. And people continue to blame the coach. No, it should have been Pachuca's coach, Almada. You should have been Almada. That should have been the coach. Or, let's go ahead and bring in one of the old guys for Mexico, Aguirre. He'll figure it out. No, it's not the coaching. Is the talent pool? Is the federation? Is the problems of having no pipeline to help your youth programs go into your first team, your senior team? That's the issue with Mexico. It has nothing to do with the coach. Klopp couldn't figure it out in Mexico. It just that's not where the issue lies.
Dude, they're still mad at Tata.
They're still
I
mad
mean,
at Tata. I mean,
they're still
come on,
mad at him.
man. Come on. Come on. You cannot be that blind, right? I mean, the issues are up top. They're not the coaching.
I mean, you said it is not the Mexico of old. It is just Mexico old. I mean,
Exactly. Absolutely.
that when it comes to Copa, since we're on this track, when it comes to Copa, what are you expecting from El Tri in Copa?
I think they're going to flame out. Unfortunately, I do. And I feel like it'd probably be good for them to figure out their issues. But I understand that they think that they have an easy group. I think it's Venezuela, Ecuador, and Jamaica. Something along those lines.
If Andre Blake is in net for Jamaica, that ain't no easy group.
Jamaica's been giving trouble to Mexico for a very long time, and Ecuador is it's a quality team. And I don't know if you want to check those groups for me, but I'm pretty sure that's it. Venezuela also has a golden generation. I think that there'll be trouble. And again, the issues lie within their own problems in Mexico. You know, Luis Romo is not doing great. Alexis Vega is a guy that has kind of peaked, or he seems like he's peaked. Santiago Jimenez, I feel like he gets way too much hype for the player that he is, respectfully, of course. Antuna is a guy that also has a lot of limitations. This Mexican team just doesn't have that X factor, the difference maker. They just don't have him anymore.
I mean, it's just, yeah, you're right. Group B, Ecuador, Jamaica, Mexico, Venezuela. Go for it, Jared.
So this one actually just dropping like 30 minutes ago. Sources tell the Dispatch that Tim Bezbachenko is close to signing a deal for a new job with Black Knights football. AFC Bournemouth's a part of their holdings.
The Bill Foley group, yeah.
So Isatal would take over in those situations if that's the case. But hey, the juggernaut of MLS. Look, this is like a thing though. Like when you've built a monster, people come start picking your parts apart.
Mm-hmm.
That is exactly it, man. And going back to Copa in general, man, I mean, I think the U.S. has a better chance of at least shaking the ground, at least turning some heads. I'm very interested about this friendly against Colombia here on Saturday, just to see how it plays out, how Greg sets up, and how he figures out the lack of Serginho Dest. Does he change formations? Does he maybe go with wingbacks in this one in Colombia with a pretty strong call-up? I think Nestor is trying to figure out the final tweaks to what he's going to bring to Copa America. There was a couple of surprises there with Uribe and Sebastian Gomez. Everybody else is the main team. Borja right now, a guy that was rumored to go to Austin at one point this season. He's been killing it at River Plate. So he gets a call up in this one, and maybe he will take that lead as one of the nines. I still think it's Cordova, but I think that this game, U.S. Colombia, it's going to be a good test for both national teams. Colombia's on a hot streak, 18 games undefeated. They've been unreal, to be quite honest. But this friendly, I feel like it's going to be more interesting than people think.
Yeah, I know that Mexico and Brazil is going to be interesting in College Station. 3 minutes ago, it's officially official, apparently. Chucky Lozano to San Diego.
Oh, very nice. Yes, we were waiting for those news. We have that in our rundown for Soccer Bar. That's an interesting one, man. I really that's another player that has had a shorter tenure in Europe for Mexico than I thought. Something he's under-delivered for the potential that he essentially had, but it's a huge win for MLS. It's a young player, extremely relevant, very talented. He's going to kill in sales for the Mexican fan base. He's the guy that you want, very much like Carlos Vela was at one point for LAFC. you're getting the exact same guy in Lozano, maybe younger, maybe more in his prime even. So yeah, it's a good move. San Diego starting off with the swing, and they're connecting. This is a good first start
All
for
right.
San Diego.
All right. So what's going on with Soccer Bar and Pulso Sports? I know you got a jet from us to head to the other one.
Yeah, I definitely will. We'll be talking a little bit about, of course, the signing of Chucky Lozano. We're going to be talking. We're going to get really deep into U.S. national team, what we could potentially see against Colombia. Will absolutely devour the loss and the franticness behind Mexico's loss, and people calling it a debacle and some craziness from people. We're going to break it all down at Soccer Bar here in about an hour. We'll talk a little bit about the upcoming short, reduced MLS games that are coming up. The fact that Seattle goes to Sporting Kansas City, a place where a lot of things have happened. That they're even when they're bad, it seems like sometimes Seattle throws them a lifeline. And if Seattle does that, I mean, that is going to be real tough. We'll talk about the Seattle Sounders going into this game. Pedro de la Vega still day to day. I don't expect them to make the trip. So how does that come out for the team? Leo Chu is back, and we'll talk a little bit about that, his health, what he can provide. So a little bit of everything here in Soccer Bar at Pulso Sports. I should be in training about 11 o'clock, where the team is going to train and travel. So it should be a short one, but you can find their voices from Brands Metro more than likely, maybe Christian Roldan, birthday boy this week. So go ahead and check that out.
All right, go get your coffee and get ready for the rest of your busy day. As always, my friend, thanks for dropping by on Thursdays. We will see you next week.
Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
Take care, man.
That is Niko Moreno, everybody. And Niko's going to go get his cup of coffee and get ready for Soccer Bar and Pulso Sports. You brought up the Tim Bezbatchenko news from the Columbus Dispatch. And Black Knight Holdings is Bournemouth and everything else under the Bill Foley umbrella. I don't think he's going to be helping out with the Vegas Golden Knights, but you never know. But Tim Bezbatchenko getting that boost up to the next challenge for him, possibly, probably, allegedly, possibly now. Very interesting times in Columbus.